Yo, what's good, everybody? It's me, Minato, and we're here back with part 6 for What If Naruto was in ReZero. I know you guys have been waiting for this for a while, and we're going to be getting into Arc 5. We have completed Season 1 of ReZero now. There is a few things I'll probably be covering, which I'll be talking about now, for one, I'll be doing the movie, Memory Snow. If you guys don't know, it's pretty wholesome. I think it'd be fun to write as well, so I'll be doing a one-shot, 30-minute video for that probably. And I'll also be doing the What If stories that were originally written by the ReZero creator, who every year on Subaru's birthday would create a story where if Subaru had given into a sin, and at these different arcs he has different chances. Like, for example, if you've watched the original, when he could give into sloth when he runs away with Rem to go to Kararagi. That's the sloth if, or the Rem if, which is pretty popular. Anyway, I'll probably be covering those with Naruto because I think it'd be a very interesting thing to do, as well as it really expands the ReZero verse. And there's some of these where it could be very different and affect Naruto's character. This next coming arc, I'm going to be doing some very interesting things with the witches as well as Naruto, so this is going to be pretty fun. I hope you guys are ready for this, and let's just get right into this part. As you already know from last time, Naruto, Emilia, as well as everyone from the Roswell Mansion, and along with some of Kuroshi's party, had come together to help and defeat the White Whale, with most of it being due to Wilhelm as well as Naruto together working against it, and finally taking the White Whale out. The beast had been taking its rampage across the country of Lugunica for over 100 years at that point. Now, as everyone in the wagons are heading back, it's quite a few less people than it was originally in the original timeline. This means that the wagons that are separated between Rem, Crush, and Naruto, Emilia, and the kids who were originally in the back with the magic stones from the witch cultist is actually a bit different, as the witch cult had been completely defeated by Naruto, and since there were less wagons, there wasn't that same danger, so the way they had taken the White Whale out was different, and Flugel's tree was still standing. Anyway, Naruto and Emilia would be in a different carriage due to Emilia's request, while Rem would be with Kuroshi just like in the original. Rem would be wondering how Naruto is doing, with Kuroshi telling her that Naruto Uzumaki is a very strong person, with Rem blushing and agreeing with her on that one. Suddenly, we would hear screaming from the front of the carriage line, as Kuroshi's forces, along with Anastasia's mercenaries, who were in the front of the pack leading in case any bandits would arrive, had now come across a mysterious figure. This person, as we would already know, would be the two figures that would come into view. They would appear to be normal people. However, as the carriages grew closer, they wouldn't try to stop for them, as for when they couldn't see them. Suddenly, a large explosion could be heard, as we can see him standing there, Regulus Cornelius, as we already know, the Sin Archbishop of Greed, as well as the Sin Archbishop of, Gluttony. As Gluttony and Greed are both standing there, having thought it was incredibly rude to have interrupted them while they were going to check on how the White Whale, was doing. This is when we would see Cornelius getting extremely angry, saying that how indecent they must be to try and run someone over in the road. Rem would have grabbed Kuroshi just like in the original and jumped out of the carriage just as it exploded. However, in this time, Emilia and Naruto are much closer than Emilia and Subaru were, so they'd actually not been as far away from the attack as they had been in the original. Anyway, as the attack takes place, Naruto suddenly feels an odd sense of danger, as he tells Emilia that there's something wrong going ahead in the front of the carriage line. Both of them would look out while they tell the kids to stay inside, as Naruto sees the large explosion and Rem jump out of the carriage. Rem, he would think. He tells Emilia to stay here and that he's going to go check it out, as he then jumps out of the carriage and starts running towards the danger ahead of them. We would see the two of them standing there as he sees Rem rushing into battle. As Rem's now fighting against Gluttony as well as the Sin of Greed. Greed is way more powerful than Rem, as you already know, and can easily outpower most people, if not everyone in the ReZero universe, except for a few, such as Reinhardt and Satella, and some other select characters. Anyway, Rem would be battling against the two of them as Naruto's running in from the background. This is when we would see Gluttony come in from behind and pull the same attack and eat Rem's name and her identity. Everyone who in this world knew of Rem, besides Naruto, would be affected by this. Rem, he would think as he sees Rem fall to the ground, pass out. As Naruto falls to his knees, seeing his friend and comrade Rem, who is especially close to him now, having just been completely taken out by these two, Naruto would stop as he asked them why they did it. The two of them would see him standing there, as they could smell the intense amount of witch's scent surrounding Naruto. Oh, we found an interesting catch, haven't we? Kaios, he would say, as the two of them would now be eyeing Naruto. As you guys already know, if you have read the ReZero manga, Naruto doesn't stand a single chance against the two of them. Because if you guys want me to explain a bit of power, this is going to be some manga spoilers for ReZero. So if you have not read the manga, then you should click off now. The power that we know that Regulus has is that his heart can be stored in any number of his wives, and unless they're all killed, it won't return to him, and he can't die. As well as he can slightly freeze time and affect objects in that closed time. So he's faster than Naruto could ever be because he can affect time. And Gluttony has the ability to devour people's names as well as their history, and can use not their abilities or their divine protections or anything, but they can use their fighting styles if it's the most recent one. So the two of them are very powerful witch cultists. So Naruto doesn't really stand a chance at this point, as Naruto's going to his rage mode, eventually turning him into the Four Tails mode of the QB. As Naruto rampages into the Four Tails mode, attacking towards Regulus, he would immediately stop time for a second as he slashes at Naruto, cutting one of Naruto's tails off. Naruto would roar in anger and rage, as he and Kurama are now both in sync at the rage of what they did to Rem, with Kurama just taking advantage of Naruto. Naruto would go into a bloody frenzy as Emilia watches in complete horror and shock, as now the entire caravan is being attacked by the two of them. Naruto would have no chance against them, as he's being absolutely destroyed by the two of them together, even though his speed and power are technically greater than theirs. Every time he hits the Sin of Greed Archbishop, he just gets back up again and again. He even tried creating a Bijou Bomb, as he used the most powerful attack that the QB at that point has to offer. As he blasts this attack towards him, he would get pushed back a little. However, this is when Naruto would begin to go even more apeshit, as he goes into his full Ninetails with the body beginning to form, as he's whacking the two of them around like rag dolls. The two of them are playing around at this point, curious about what this giant fox creature is, as Naruto picks the two of them up. Naruto would pick them up as he throws them away as hard as he can. As he does so, he would then create a Bijou Blast, as he uses the Bijou Bomb to blast it at the two of them. The two of them would be hit by it, seemingly and completely covered in it. I think we should leave for today, they would think, as they've noticed that Naruto's power and magic is beginning to rise to levels that would be almost equal to theirs with the QB's power. The two decide to leave for now, even though Gluttony is still a bit hungry. Naruto would almost be going to full Ninetails. This is when, suddenly, Minato's seal would begin to activate. As Naruto, who's inside the seal, would be about to pull the entire seal off, when Minato would put his hand over Naruto's. Where are we, Minato, be thinking, as he looks around into the outside world, noticing that there's almost no chakra here besides himself and Naruto's and the QB's. Naruto, he'd ask, "Who are you?" Naruto would ask. Are you the fourth Hokage? Naruto would remember the stone face from which he'd looked so often at in his childhood. That's true, but how wouldn't I know my own son's name? Naruto would have already asked the same questions he would have in the original, with him being shocked and learning the truth that he's the fourth Hokage's son. I'm the son of the fourth Hokage? Naruto would be amazed, thinking, as he realizes that there's so many things that didn't make sense about it from his story in the original anyway. Naruto would tell Minato everything, about how he had been sent to this world, and how everything's different here and there's no chakra, and he's been trying to find his way back home. Minato would understand, as he thinks that him having given Naruto the Ninetails is now more important than ever, having to traverse some strange land completely on his own. He would tell Naruto about the Akatsuki, saying that he doesn't know if they can reach him here, but if they can, then he needs to be careful for them coming after him in the Ninetails, and he can't slack on his training. Naruto would nod, saying that Jiraiya taught him over the last 3 years, and he hopes that he's still doing well. Naruto doesn't know, however, that something in the other world, the world of Naruto, is going wrong. Back in the world of Naruto, we see Jiraiya. Jiraiya is now in the Land of Rain, as he's been looking for details and intel on if the Akatsuki had somehow grabbed Naruto, as Naruto had gone missing one day with no one knowing where he had been. Naruto had become basically a rogue ninja in the eyes of the Leaf Village, and he just disappeared, but there's been no sightings of him ever since. It was almost the day after that he had been back to the Leaf Village, so Jiraiya had no idea why he'd be gone. Sakura and Kakashi, along with Jiraiya, would all be very worried, and Jiraiya would now be investigating the Rain Village, investigating to see if Pain might have been able to find him. He doesn't know who Pain is exactly, but he's heard that he might be the strongest of the Akatsuki, and so Jiraiya was very interested. Jiraiya would be, however, unfortunately, taken by the same fate he has in the original, as the 6 Paths of Pain would find Jiraiya, as he goes into semi-perfect sage mode, and would still be defeated and eventually killed by them. Naruto at that very moment would feel a twinge of pain, though he didn't know why. Minato would finish explaining everything to Naruto that he could, telling him that he needs to find a way to get back to his own world, and that he might have a way. "You think there's a way back?" Naruto would ask, with Minato replying, "The only way I could think that you could get somewhere without actually be physically traveling there might be the reverse summoning jutsu." "What's that?" Naruto would think. Minato would then explain to him about the key, and that unfortunately he didn't have time to actually give him one beforehand in this one version because, well, he's not exactly available for it anymore. Minato would say that since Naruto still made the summoning contract with the Toads, he should be able to do it though, as he explains the summoning jutsu to Naruto, wishing him the best of luck. Naruto would nod, saying he needs to make sure that all of his friends are okay first, as he says goodbye to his dad. Minato disappears. Naruto then eventually reverts back to his original state, as the Ninetails disappears. Puck and Emilia would be asking what happened, with Emilia having run out of seeing after Naruto had gone completely QB mode. Naruto would explain to Emilia that he has his own demons, and he would tell her more about the Ninetails, and how he had this extremely powerful monster called the QB, or the Ninetails, sealed inside of him when he was a child. Emilia would think that's horrible, as she then remembers her own past, as she sees an image of a frozen family of elves. Emilia would be quiet for a second, as she then asks Naruto if he's alright. Naruto would nod, saying he's fine, but then he has something more important to worry about, as he looks down, seeing Rem on the ground, completely stock still. I hope she's just knocked out, he would think, though he wouldn't know for certain until later. Kurosh and Rem would actually have a little bit less of a bad scenario, as Kurosh's memories weren't taken due to Naruto's influence. So Naruto would have effectively saved Kurosh in this timeline, even though he really couldn't have beaten the two of them anyway. Naruto, Emilia, Rem, and the rest of the caravan that survived would make it back to the kingdom of Lagunica, where they would tell the guards there about what had happened with their incident with the Sin Archbishops. Reinhardt would be especially furious as he hears what almost happened to 2 of the royal candidates. Well, anyway, Naruto would be distraught, as the doctors who have been now taking care of Rem for over 12 hours now have found no results. Naruto is becoming desperate, as he doesn't know what he can do. If there's nothing I can do here, he would think, as he realizes that Rem may not be able to come back. Naruto is pulling a kunai out as he's looking at it, his eyes beginning to shake as he remembers the past 2 times. I've died twice before, and I've come back every time, he would think, as his hands begin to shake, thinking about it. I can do this. He thinks of Rem's smiling face as he closes his eyes, seeing the little maid with her blue hair and blue eyes. Naruto would jab the kunai into his own chest as he begins to feel blood seeping through his jacket as he falls over. Naruto would begin to fade in and out of consciousness. Suddenly Naruto would wake up. No, he would think, as he looks down with him and Emilia standing there over Rem, just as they were putting her back into the caravan to get back to the city. No. Naruto would be completely freaked out as he says that this shouldn't have happened. He thinks that he must have gone too far. If I'd been there before, then I could have. He'd become extremely mad at himself as Naruto punches himself, saying he failed. Emilia would ask him what's going on, with Naruto telling her that it's nothing, with him being extremely frustrated. Naruto would gently pick up Rem as he puts her into the caravan, enacting everything that had happened in the previous loop. As Naruto and everyone get back now, Naruto's extremely distraught, as he doesn't know what he can do. He would tell Emilia about what his dad had told him, with Emilia asking what that means. Naruto would explain to her about the summoning jutsu, how he can summon an animal from Mount Miyaboku, which is the Toads. The Toad sages that Jiraiya and he would both be summoners of. If he can reverse summon himself back to the Toads, then he should be able to get back to his own world. Emilia would be extremely worried about this, asking if that's even plausible, but Naruto would have no idea. He'd tell Emilia that everything's probably fine back there anyway for now, and that he needs to focus on what's going on here. He's going to take care of Rem, and he's going to find a way to fix everything, he would tell her. But first, they need to ask ReZero if he knows anything. So, Naruto would live in this timeline now. Naruto and Emilia would begin to leave the site, along with Rem, as they head back to ReZero's mansion. This is where we would eventually meet Francesca as well as Petra, who had now become a maid for Roswell's mansion. They'd be taking care of Rem as he trusts her with their care, Naruto bowing and saying thank you for taking care of her while they were gone. They would nod with Naruto explaining who Rem was and everything, with what had happened over during the battle against the Sin Archbishops. Naruto and Emilia would then head out, as they are going to go to the sanctuary. Francesca would give Naruto the same amulet that he would have in order to get through the barrier, as him and Emilia get into the sanctuary itself. As Naruto and Emilia are now in a carriage, with him receiving the handkerchief from Petra as a gift with her blushing and holding his hand telling him to be safe, Naruto would smile as he still feels pain in his heart from what happened to Rem. Anyway, Rem would now be safe at the Roswell mansion while Naruto and Emilia would head to the sanctuary. As they are getting close to the border, Otto, and Emilia, who Otto was actually taking them in his carriage, would suddenly see a blast of light coming from the amulet, as Naruto's wondering what's going on. Suddenly, the world would turn white, as him and Emilia are shot out of the carriage, as they're now on the ground, with Naruto unconscious. What? Naruto would open his eyes as he sees a grassy field and a blue sky with clouds. Where am I, he'd think. As Naruto gets up, pulling himself onto his hands and feet, and looking around, he would see a table with an umbrella over it. Oh, I haven't had a visitor for a tea party in such a long time, Echidna would say. As Naruto would turn around to see a lady with black clothing and bright white hair as bright as the snow, with her eyes black and gray. Who are you? Naruto would ask. Who am I? Well, that's a pretty easy question to answer anyway. But then again, knowledge is the key to all power, as I would say. She would say this as Echidna would then walk over to the table, inviting Naruto to join her. She would pour the tea for both of them, saying it's better if he drinks it while it's still warm. Naruto would sigh as he drinks the tea, and then he would put the cup down, asking what it was. It tasted pretty much like nothing. It wasn't exactly good or bad either. Echidna would laugh, as she then explains that that's actually her body fluids. Naruto would then spit up as he asked if she was serious, as he then begins coughing and gagging. She would laugh as she tells Naruto that's pretty rude to do in front of a witch. Huh? Naruto would be surprised as she explains that she's actually the witch of Greed, Echidna. Naruto wouldn't be too well versed with the fairy tales of this world, as he still learned some things from Ram, but not as much as Subaru had. A witch, he would think, as he then remembers that the witch, as he remembers Betelgeuse as well as her. He thinks back to whenever he has died so far in the past 3 times. The dark hands which have covered his heart wept for him and then brought him back again from the brink and further beyond. Naruto would ask if this witch, if she knew that he had. She would nod, as Naruto would be shocked. Naruto would be given the qualification to enter into the first trial of the sanctuary, as Echidna says she'll be watching him with great interest, as he has so many secrets in his body, as well about his world, that she really wishes to uncover. Wait, you know about the shinobi world, he would think? Bye-bye for now, Echidna would say, as Naruto is then sucked into a portal and then wakes up, with all his memories being taken from him. Huh? What happened, he would think, as he sees Emilia just about to wake up as well. Emilia, are you alright? Naruto would run over to her as she barely wakes up as well, not having any memory at all either. That was weird. I have a headache, she'd think. As Otto would ask if the two of them are alright, Naruto would nod, saying he thinks that everyone's fine, as the two of them, and the 3 of them actually, have now entered the sanctuary. Garfield would come to greet them, as he says that they've been expecting him due to Roswell saying so. Roswell, Naruto would think, as he needs to ask Roswell if there's any way to help Rem out. As they would eventually be making their way over to where Roswell was staying, where he was recovering, they would see that Roswell had actually attempted to enter and take his own first trial in the sanctuary, which had failed and had damaged him. Ram would be waiting there as she greets Naruto, with Naruto asking how she's doing, with him then explaining to Ram what had happened to Rem. Ram would have no idea who Rem is, which would cause Naruto a bit of PTSD, before he would explain who Rem was to her, with Ram highly doubting that she ever had a twin sister. This hurt Naruto a bit, but he didn't show it. As Naruto would talk to Roswell, asking if he knew anything about how they could help bring back someone's memories and their memories in the world of them, Roswell would say he doesn't really have any idea, which Naruto would be frustrated about as then they would be explained to the trials of the sanctuary. And Naruto and Emilia would go to the sanctuary later that night, along with Garfield as well as Ram, who would watch Emilia go into the sanctuary itself. As Naruto watches, wishing Emilia to do her best, Emilia would nod, as she tells him she will. As she runs into the sanctuary, we would hear someone screaming immediately as Naruto rushes in after her, seeing what's going on. Garfield would tell him to stay back and that could kill him as Naruto runs headfirst into the sanctuary itself for the trial. As soon as he runs into the graveyard, he would then pass out immediately. As he wakes up, Where am I? Naruto would think. What's going on? He would turn around as he sees someone standing there. You nerd. There's no way you can stop me, he would say. As Naruto looks down at his hands, his feet. No. What's going on? As he looks up, there he stands. There stands in front of him Sasuke Uchiha in the Valley of the End from 3 years ago. If you guys want to see Naruto take place in the first trial of the Sanctuary, make sure to hit the like button, comment down below what you thought, and subscribe to the channel for more. Sorry if there's a few plot holes or anything. I've not really written a ReZero What If before, so I'm not so great at it. I've read the manga, I tried. If there was anything I missed, be sure to tell me below, and I will make sure to talk about it in the next part. Anyway, if you guys like that, then yeah, I hope you enjoyed. So we'll get into the next part next time, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.